So it's actually pretty normal for kind of like um mm, trans guys to go through voice training, and to be honest, a lot of kind of cis guys actually kind of like subconsciously train themselves as well. Um, so something that you might be aware of or not, So children, right? Um, Physiologically, before the exposure to hormones, not really any difference, to be honest. Um, in terms of vocal anatomy, right? Um, but what we do see is behavioral modifications that come in from both kind of like boys and girls pre-puberty, right? So that kind of indicates that there's kind of like social pressures here that may kind of influence the way that people use their voices that are on top of kind of the like baseline testosterone exposure stuff that kind of comes in hand, right? So pitch is definitely one aspect, right, of finding of voice kind of like um gender stuff. So things to consider, right? If you're doing if it's like going to fry, right? Then maybe what you want to do is try increasing airflow a little bit and see if you can pop it back out into chest voice, right? Another thing to consider might be trying to go down kind of like as light as possible. And just like that wasn't a good demo, but I just had my second vaccine dose, so I'm giving myself a free pass. Ooh. Um, mm, you might want to consider like practicing going down in pitch in like a range of configurations. So it might be heavy, right, and kind of soft, right. That might be one thing to consider playing with. Another thing to consider playing with, especially given your notes on like not very much tempo change, might be playing around with resonance, or this quality we call resonance. So basically, the size of your vocal tract, the shape of your vocal tract, affects the sound that comes out, right? And obviously, we can behaviorally modify this, right? If you yawn, for example, oh, so if you do that, you get kind of like a lower kind of like more hollow quality normally, right? But if you like drag everything else down with it, it starts to sound more typical. Um, it starts to sound more typical, right? Um, so the other thing, right, that you may want to consider is right, so playing around with resonance. So how might you do this? If you can visualize, like, if you can kind of like, whisper, like, say if you can do it in a high pitch and a low pitch, if that makes sense. So a high pitch might be like, and a low pitch might be like, right? We might try working that into voice. So we could be like, hello, 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 and in work the other kind of extreme in, hello, 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 right? We might try working in the kind of like resonance modification if we can get it. It might help to kind of like scale these up and down, kind of like, right? And that might be something you want to play around with in practice as well, if you aren't already. There's also like a bunch of workshops that a bunch of teachers do that you can check out in the second pinned post on the subreddit. So the introductory voice training resources. It's a pretty long post, but if you find like the recommended voice communities or like scroll down to the teachers bit, you'll probably find something to play around with or look for.